Hey guys, welcome to Franklin Woodworks. Where I left off in the last video, I had completed the cabinet carcasses, got them level and in line with each other, and installed dust collection for the miter saw. So if you haven't seen that video, there's a link to it below. One of the things I use that many woodworkers don't is some kind of integrated measuring system like the measuring tape on your table saw. I take the time to calibrate those kinds of things so the accuracy is dead on. I'm doing the same thing for my miter saw. So I've got my trim router with the appropriate size bit, and I'm cutting a channel just deep enough so that the tape is flush with the surface. To make sure it's accurate, I've locked my saw in the down position and used a metal yardstick that's just touching the side of the carbide tooth of the blade. Now I can take my adhesive tape and match it to the yardstick. Although I would avoid using the miter saw to cut something to its final length, if I need to, I can do it with acceptable accuracy based on the tape. Even though I feel my tools are accurate, one thing I would never do is make the same cut with two different tools and expect them to be identical. Use one tool to make the same cuts on identical workpieces, and things will generally turn out okay. So now I have to make some drawers. I've already cut all of my components to size, so now I can work on the joinery. I've decided to try something I've never done before, and that is a lock joint. The added gluing surface will make the drawers really sturdy. After running several test runs to make sure everything is set correctly, I cut 1/4-inch grooves in the front and back panels of the drawers with a dado stack, making sure that the depth of the groove leaves me a 1/4 inch of stock. Since I'm using a 1/2-inch plywood that is not quite a 1/2 inch, the groove is a little less than a 1/4 inch. A stop block as a reference puts the groove that same little bit less than a 1/4 inch from the end every time. To cut the tongue, I use a stop block to make sure the length of the tongue matches the depth of the groove cut in the previous pieces. The height of the blade gives the tongue the right thickness. For the drawer bottoms, instead of cutting a groove on the inside of the drawer sides where the bottom will fit, I'm just going to butt joint the bottom. The plywood I'm using is pre-finished on one side, and I want the finished side on the inside of the drawers. Since I'm gluing the bottoms to the sides, I have to get rid of the finish where the two attach so that the glue will stick. To do that, I use a dado blade set just high enough to take a few thousandths of an inch off. Now I can run a bead of glue around the bottom of the drawer sides and tack the bottom on with finishing nails. The drawers go together using glue and pin nails. I make sure there is plenty of glue in the grooves and use a pin nailer to drive pins through the tongue. That gives the joint a lot of strength while the glue dries, but because the pins are so thin, I still have flexibility to square the drawer sides to the bottom before the glue sets. One thing I should say about the way I put these together is that since the width of the drawer is critical for the drawer slides to work properly, the fronts and backs of the drawers were cut to the exact width the drawer needs to be. These were the pieces that have the groove. Since the depth of the drawer is not nearly as critical, and because math is not my strong suit, the tongues are cut in the side pieces. That way the drawers are guaranteed to fit. I know that a lot of folks do it the opposite way, and I'd be curious to know why that is. If you know, leave a comment so that I can learn something. I'm not going to do a tutorial on installing drawer slides, but the easiest way for me is to cut spacers and use those to rest the drawer slides on while you screw them in. Using the same spacer on each side ensures that everything is nice and even. I use different spacers for different drawer heights. When it's time to attach the drawers to the slides, I again use spacers to keep the drawer level while I attach them with screws. For the top cabinets, I'm going to go with shelves. So, using the same principle as drawer installation, I use spacers to attach supports for the shelves. Cut the shelves to the proper size, and I trim the edges of the shelves with hardwood, just so you don't see the edge of the plywood. For the next video, I'll be making the doors for the top cabinets. I was going to get to it in this video, but this one is running a little long. So make sure you subscribe so you can catch the next video. Thanks for watching, and there you go.